Why do novels fail? I'd like to talk about this because I also gave up writing a few novels. One of them is on eternal hiatus. 3 others I don't want to touch again unless it's going to be a full rewrite, one of which I am working on. But it failed the original time I published it. I'm talking about Royal Road here. So it's going to be web novels, not traditionally published novels. And I wanted to talk about this first because a lot of my readers might one day want to write their own novels. They get inspired by reading the stories and they think, hey, I can do a job just as well or better. And I believe you. Yes, definitely a lot of you who are fixing my typos in the comment sections and also giving me really nice suggestions. You could probably write really well stories, so I definitely suggest you to give it a try. And I wanted to mention caveats first before talking about my experience on how I go about planning a new launch. And there's a lot of planning involved. Some of these might be secrets, some of these might be not. I'm really unsure about the etiquette with the Royal Road authors community. My experience with it has been like wildly good in general, very good. That's mostly because maybe I'm just lurking in some of the communities, author communities, but in general it's been quite good. There has been some rough interactions here and there, but I don't let them offend me anymore. People have stuff going on in their life probably, so that might not be their true character. But yeah, you might be a prospective author, and you need inspiration, some real hard numbers and some tutorials, which I will share. Not tutorials, but in my experience, how I plan my novel, how I plan the launch of the novel, how I push my Patreon, how I want to structure my story so that it's also going to be suitable for KU or Kindle Unlimited. But before that, I just wanted to tell you why they fail, why I failed, why I see others fail. I think it's important to get this out of the way because I hope they might give you realistic expectations while launching your novel. Realistic expectations don't mean what I say is realistic because I say it or I've seen it. There are outliers everywhere. There are exceptions to the rules everywhere. Some people launch on Royal Road, they do very poorly, but on Kindle they blow up. Some people are very high-level authors on Kindle. They earn millions, 7-figure. They try to do a story on Royal Road, barely succeeds. So there's like exceptions to the rules, as I said, everywhere. Take what I say with a grain of salt. I am in no way an authority on this subject. I just have some experience, and I'm gonna share that experience with you. These are going to be opinionated experiences. They are not by no means the objective truth. These are subjective. Yeah, so why do stories fail on Royal Road and some other web novel publishing sites? The number one reason I see why stories fail is because the authors lose motivation to write them. And why do the authors lose motivation to write them? Because of their expectations towards the numbers. By that I mean how many followers they get, how many page views or reads they get, how much money they are earning on Patreon, and quite a few others. But these numbers, same with YouTube, the numbers really impact the mental health of authors. And it impacted my mental health. I wrote 8 months on a story that had 250 followers and they really liked the story. But I was earning 40 euros per month on Patreon from that. And it actually peaked at 140 and then it went down and down and down, and that hurt me a lot. And when I see the average page views going down, the follower number never increasing, the Patreon earning going down, that also sapped away my motivations in some ways. You see, I was an avid reader on Royal Road for a long time. I was there since it was a translation site for Legendary Moonlight Sculptor, because I also translated Japanese light novels and web novels to English on Bakatsuki and some other websites. So I'm a veteran weeb, but I didn't start writing my own stuff until it was 2018, something like that. I was scanlating, fan translating stuff since it was like 2006. I was not even a teenager. I was a preteen then. From Japanese to English. I don't know any Chinese or Korean, but I do write Eastern fantasy like Xianxia, the Chinese mystical stuff, kung fu novels. Okay, I'm on a tangent. I had expectations to how well my novel would do. I said, okay, this is gonna easily earn more than $1,000 a month, and I'm gonna be super rich. It's gonna get 10,000 followers in the first, I don't know, year or something. It did not. My writing was not that good. I had a large-ish DeviantArt following. I shared the novel there. My I used to do digital art basically. I was not good at it either. I quit that hobby after trying it for 2 years. And the way I got so many followers was actually I would comment on people's profiles like, hey, how are you? Please follow me, and they would follow back. Amazing. So they came, and I was active in the community, DeviantArt community. So my friends and like watchers in DeviantArt, they came to Royal Road and they bombed my story with 5-star reviews, and that got me banned because my story shot up to like top 3% or something, and I was believing, yeah, this is amazing, this is awesome. No, it wasn't. It was filled with typos, weird character interactions, very chunibyo, like this 8th grader syndrome Japanese light novelish style of writing. I was like, back in those days when I used to translate light novels from Japanese to English, in Japanese anime they say, like Sword Art Online, Kirito-kun. In the translation I would still keep the Kirito-kun acted as if he wasn't affected by Asuna at all or something like that. Like, it's super weird. And I would keep a lot of Japanese term, and that was the convention back then. I would see other people translating novels like that, and I would do it the same way. It is what it is. And it was not good. They gave me some bad habits, shall I say. So I write like a light novel or Japanese light novel writer. I've gotten that feedback a lot. Some people like it, some people don't like it. It is what it is. And my novel was not good. It wasn't worthy of that high ranking. I talked with the owners of the Royal Road website and I showed them ample proof. Hey, I actually asked people to come here. I never actually asked them to give me a high review. I just asked them to come here and follow the story. My watchers and friends were just so good that they had to give me a 5-star, even though I didn't deserve it back then. And I had the expectations that I did for a while, but I didn't. And that novel failed. And it didn't do that well. Got like, I don't know how many followers. 100 something, 200. I think at the end it got like 250 followers. I wrote it for a long time, but I dropped it. That's the one that's in rewrite right now, by the way, behind the scenes. Probably going to use another name though. We'll keep some of the characters, not all of them. Okay, tangent again. It failed because I had some expectations towards the numbers that were not met. I see this happening to a lot of authors, new authors on Royal Road. And they sometimes complain on the Discord servers. Some of the complaints are legit, but numbers are things that you cannot control yourself. The only thing you can control is how many words you put on the page. You cannot control how other people react to those words. Whether they click the follow button, whether they give you a good rating, whether they subscribe to your Patreon. You can ask them, call to action, but that doesn't guarantee those high numbers, does it? My expectation should have been, I will write 2,000 words today, not that my story would get 2,000 followers. And that leads me to the second reason why novels fail, why mine failed. The second reason why my novel failed is because I wrote not to the market. So for example, Royal Road has a certain niche viewership, readership. They like lit RPG, game lit, Xianxia, the broader term for this would be progression fantasy. So in some way or another, the character is becoming stronger, whether that's economical power, actual magical power, martial arts power. They like the video game logics of levels, you know, some quantifiable metric of people getting stronger. That's not always the case. There are outliers, as I said. But this is like a generalization of maybe a stereotype of the average railroad reader. I love progression fantasy. Most people love progression fantasy. A lot of things people don't like, as like mind control stuff, you know, and some overly dark, grim, dark stuff, even though those stories can also do very well. My novel was none of that. It's completely anti-market. Maybe it would have done okay-ish in the Japanese web novel like Hakuyamu or like Encode.Shousetsu, Shousetsuka ni Naro, like the web novel Japanese site that Sword Art Online was first written there. Trivia, also Overload, also Konosuba, many other light novel adaptations of web novels. It might have done well there, but it was not a progression fantasy at all. At all. It was very slow burn, tension was not there, not really good cliffhangers. So basically it didn't really do well. People did tell me it was written well enough, but it was a bit more character driven, which is not a bad thing. Even in the most popular stories on railroads, they're not just progression fantasies. A lot of love and care goes into the character. But the thing I've noticed is sometimes stories do good even if the characters aren't so developed, but the stories always do bad when the plot is not developed on railroad. It's like an extreme. Some people might disagree with that statement. It's just one of my observations. As I said, this is all subjective. In those situations, a lot of novices, like, they want to write. You see me writing, you're inspired to write some fantasy. I can do better than that. I thought that actually. I thought about that reading railroad web novels. I thought I could do better than that. No. Writing is a skill for a reason. I learned so much in the last, I don't know, 6-7 years. But a lot of new readers want to do better than what they read. They read a story, they really like it, they don't like parts of it though. First thing they do, go to the review section, write a review that might not be following the railroad reviewing rules, but you know, they at least get to vent why they don't like the story. I did the same thing. And then they write their own novel and they put their own spin on it, which is good. Creativity is always good. But it goes completely anti-market and the novel fails. It doesn't get much viewership, readership, whatever. Patreon is like dry as a desert. I should come up with some more creative. Was it a simile? Yeah. I'm supposed to be an author. Okay, so that's the second reason. Anti-market. Write progression fantasy in some ways. If you're really confident, you can write whatever you want. As I said, there are always outliers. Some stories, they don't follow the predictable progression fantasy writing method or writing genre, writing structure, whatever. It's some guy chilling somewhere and they do really well. And even if they don't do well in Railroad, they can do really well in Kindle Unlimited. In fact, the next novel, the rewrite I'm writing, I'm not making it a full progression fantasy. I'm going to make it partially progression fantasy, but there won't be any numbers. It's more of a tech uplifting story. So it's still going to be an isekai, but it's going to be a tech uplifting story, something like that. Not really a progression. The progression element is like the progression of the technology tree, you know? Some people really like that. And I made a mistake not doing that the last time. The number 3 is this. A lot of people are just pantsers. Pantsers. You know, the plotter versus pantser thing. Right from the seed of your plan, meaning you don't really have a outline of your story. You just sit there, write what you want to write, and then it goes on and on and on forever. And a lot of people are very creative with this. Not creative as in they write upside down or while doing a handstand or something, but they're really good pantsters. And pantsting feels very good, you know. Your creativity is flowing, the muse is singing beside your ears, and the words just don't stop coming out. of your brain to your fingers to the keyboard to the screen. And within like 1 hour, you wrote like 4,000 words. I think my highest record was 3,000 something. So 4,000 is definitely doable. If you're dictating, you could probably do like 10,000 or something. And they write and the story loses structure. A lot of novelists I know are like hardcore pantsers. So they basically write whatever it is that come to their mind, and they don't really do developmental editing, and it's not always needed. However, I've talked to a few of them, not all of them. A lot of people still write while doing pantsing, but I have talked to a few of them. I will not name their names because that, I don't know, it's just privacy, a breach of privacy. But they told me that was the main reason for them to lose motivation in writing the story, even though they had like 1,000 followers or like 2,000 followers, a respectable amount. They were earning a few $100 from Patreon too, so a respectable amount. It's not nothing. It could be change if you're in the US, but it's something, right? And from there you could build up a reader base. But they just lost their story. Too many plot holes developed. Characters were acting out of character, and by the end of it, they couldn't really bring it back to a coherent picture. They couldn't really design an end for the novel, which is very important. Stories need to end. Some people may disagree with this. Some stories can go on for a long, long, long time, thousands of chapters. Imagine some of the web novels, Chinese ones, Koreans, or Japanese ones. Chinese ones tend to be more longer. I think it's because of the publishing policies of some of the Chinese web novel publishers. I heard they're very predatory. But yeah, best case, you write until the day you die, and then the story still ends, but then it's incomplete, right? And no one really knows how it will end unless some other author takes up the mantle, and sometimes it would be a good thing, and sometimes it can go really well, like with Berserk, you know? The author died and the new author, I think it's the Sword Art Online author, or I forgot who, Reiki Kawahara. I don't know, but they took up Berserk and it's been going well. People are, I like it. I like the new chapters just as well. It's nice. I think they kept the spirit. Enough about Berserk. But basically, yeah. A plot, it doesn't have to be a detailed outline. You could plot arcs, like broad stroke overviews. You could plot the characters, which characters are going to be in the story. Sometimes I notice with Panster is something called character bloat. Basically, a huge amount of characters get added to the story, and maybe while writing, the author thinks that, okay, this is a nice time to add this character, and they just add it without plan. This is fine and well sometimes, and as you are writing the story, you discover stuff. You get surprised by what happened to your own characters, but the story also loses track sometimes. Not always, sometimes, as I said. Pantsing is and can work really well for a lot of people. But it didn't work well for me. My first novel was a lot of pantsing. My second novel was also started off with a really good plot, but after I reached the end of that plot, maybe this was around the end of book 1, I didn't have anything else planned. I should have stopped there. I should have taken some time. I should have plotted it out a bit more. You know, book 2, book 3, whatever. Just broad stroke overview. This arc, these characters, they're very important. Plan the characters that will be in your story. Don't keep adding characters and then forgetting about them. It didn't work so well for me. The novel I'm rewriting had like 40 cousins or something, 20 cousins of the main character that got introduced, and I didn't know how to keep them relevant. Okay, whatever. It adds a lot of bloat. It adds a lot of directionlessness. Like there's no directionality. The story isn't going anywhere. The plot twists, whatever, are there for the sake of it. With this story, the current story that I have plotted it until book 4. So I know what happens until book 4. Book 1 is done. Book 2 is doing. Book 3 will be done, same as book 4. And when I'm going to write book 4, I might be plotting. I will be plotting the future books because the story doesn't end in book 4. In my head, it's like 8 books. It might take a lower number of books. It might take a higher number of books. I don't know yet. But that's the third reason why I think novels fail. Not just on Royal Road. Maybe this is also true for traditional publishing, for Kindle Unlimited. We'll see. I think after my pieces grind, I was away from Patreon for a long time. I just paused all billing, and by that time the earnings fell from somewhere around like 1,000. Like I almost had like 80, 90 active patrons at the time, and then it fell to like 50 patrons. Like it fell to as low as like 40 something patrons. And then when I started posting more regularly after finishing the thesis, I got a few of them back. A few of them came back. Thank you guys. I love you. But I noticed this. I'm not as attached to the outcome of the money anymore because I just want to finish writing this current story. And I will, fingers crossed. It's not like it doesn't affect me at all. If one day I see, okay, half of my patrons are gone immediately, maybe that's gonna hurt a bit, but I think I'll still keep writing. No, I know I'll still keep writing because I've worked a lot on those plots. And I really enjoy writing this story right now. So I plotted. I have realistic expectations of the number, I hope. Not always. I look at the numbers a lot too, okay? I still refresh my dashboard like 10 times a day, but it's not 100 times a day. And I write to the market. It's definitely a progression fantasy. I put some numbers there, and in my mind, those numbers make sense, but I've gotten some feedback from the authors, from the readers, that they don't always find them helpful, the lit RPG elements, the numbers, but I'll still keep them because I want to write them. I'm not a huge numbers guy, but I think for my story, I need the numbers, and it's nice. I created a whole Excel sheet to calculate them. I created a whole app for them first, but I couldn't get it to work properly, so I scrapped it and I made a whole XLSX Excel workbook for it. It sucks though. I should have made it. I could have made it better, but I don't have the time and energy, and it just works now. But yeah, that's all I wanted to share. This is one of 3 reasons. One of the 3 reasons, or 3 of the reasons I found that novels fail here. On Royal Road and some other places too. There are more. I have a list of them, but the next video I think is going to be why I think novels succeed, which is the opposite of these, but I'll add a few more other reasons. If you liked what I said, follow, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye. Bye.